Hi there, my name is Whitney Coop and I am going to demonstrate for you today another edition of a Try a Trade. Today we are going to be practicing our electrical skills to put together a simple electrical circuit to drive a small car. So before we start, you're going to want to consult your materials list so that you know for sure you have all of the pieces that you need, as I have set out right here. So our first step is going to be to take the wooden base of the car and we are going to cut out this piece right here. Taking a pair of scissors, you are just going to give each section here a little snip and then you can push the piece out. When you've popped the piece out, the next thing you're going to do is take your 4 screw eyes and you're going to screw them in to the 4 corner holes of the base plate. Whichever side you screw them in will become the bottom of your car. For the next step, we are going to put together the axles of the car. So to start, you're going to take this piece and you're going to pick out your gear. You can either use the second largest piece, which will make your car faster, or you can use the second smallest gear, which will give your car more torque or make it stronger. You don't need to pick the smaller or the larger pieces, and you only need 1 gear. If you haven't done so already, you can take off your hub inserts and take off the gear that you've chosen. When you have all of your pieces ready, the next step is going to be to take the axle and you are going to add in one of these hub pieces to your axle. So they don't always fit perfectly together. So whatever you need to do to get your hub piece onto your axle, you can do that. I'm going to try to use a hammer to put the pieces together. But other things you can do are, you could take a drill and make the hole bigger, or use pliers, but this is kind of the tricky part. And so what you're gonna try to do is you're going to get that hub piece into the middle of your axle so that you can add your gear in and put them together. Once you are ready and you have your gear in roughly the middle of your axle, you can insert the axle piece into the screw eyes, and you might just have to mess around with it a little bit, but this is what it's going to look like. When you have the axle in your screw eyes, we are going to prepare the tires, and what you're going to do is you're going to take the rubber band and put it on the outside of the largest tires for added traction for your super fast little electric car. And then we're going to take those 2 tires and we are going to attach them to the axle. So what you can do is just take 1 tire, put it on your table, line up your axle piece with it, and it's easy enough to just hammer it in gently, not necessarily too far. And then you can do the same thing with your other tire. Just pop it on the table, line up your axle, and hammer it in. When you're finished with the back tires, we're gonna do the front tires next. So you can take one of your small front tires, take an axle piece, put it on the table, tap your axle into the tire like this, and then you are going to thread the axle through the screw eyes and take your next tire piece and tap that in to your axle as well. And then all of the tires are going to be on your model car. For the next step, we're going to take the 3 pieces of the motor stand and put them together. So what you can do is before you glue them together, you can take the pieces and put them together in advance so that you know how they fit properly. And so now there, you can see how it goes together. And then you can just take it apart gently and add your super glue to it. Once all of your pieces are glued together and dried, you're gonna grab your motor clip and attach it on to the stand like this. And so you can just take the sticky piece off of your motor clip and just attach it on right to the end here, and it should just stick nicely for you. Give it a squeeze. So our next step is we are going to take the worm gear and we are going to attach it on to the motor. And so you can just hold it in your hands and gently try to get the worm gear on. And if you're struggling, hold it in your hands. You can nail it in if that helps, but don't put the bottom of the motor against the table to nail it because you might fold those pieces down. So once you've gotten the worm gear onto the motor, you can take the engine stand and clip, the motor clip, and you can attach the motor into the clip with the worm gear facing down like this. Once you've completed this step, we are going to attach the motor stand onto the car. So you have two sets of holes here that the motor stand is going to fit into. If you used the larger gear, you are going to use the back set of holes so that your worm gear is going to make contact with your gear here. All right, and so you've put this in dry, you felt how it feels. Now you can glue it on again using your super glue. For this step, we're gonna start by taking the battery clip and gluing it between the front two wheels. And then you're going to take your switch and you are gonna glue that right here in the hole for the switch. Once you've glued on your battery clip and your switch, you can go ahead and take the battery and attach the battery lead to the battery. You can clip the battery into the clip here. And then you're going to take your two wires and you are going to attach them on to these metal tips on top of the motor to discover which orientation is going to make the car go either forward or backward. If it's going backwards, you're going to switch the wires. So like this. All right, so I have red working, making the car go forward. If I were to switch it, it would go backwards, right? So you want to see the car going forwards, and that's how you are going to attach your wires. So now we're going to work on our wires, and we are going to use the wire strippers to strip just a little extra off of the wire. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to attach the wire into this first groove of the wire stripper and give it a little back and forth, and you should be able to just pull that off. You can do the same thing with the black. Attach it into the groove, and it doesn't really matter how much you take off, not a lot. And you can just pull that off to expose more of the wire. When you're done using your wire strippers, you are going to take only one of these two wires. You're going to set one to the side, and you're going to take one of the wires and attach it in to the metal pieces sticking out of the motor so that the wire is touching the metal like that. And you're going to set the other one to the side. We're not attaching it yet. So then you're going to take a bit of your excess wire and you're going to cut yourself off a piece roughly 5 inches. So you can take your wire cutters, you're going to bring your wire all the way to the end here where the snipper is and give it a little snip. Once you've got your piece of wire, and it really doesn't matter how long necessarily, it doesn't have to be exact, you're going to strip the edges of each side. So using your wire cutter in that same method we've already tried, you're going to strip the edges. So then what we're going to do is we're going to attach this piece of wire to the motor on the opposite side that we've attached this piece of wire. So what you can do is you can just twist the wire to make it easier to put through this small hole. So you've twisted that together, then you're going to take the wire and you are just going to attach it into the motor and fold it backwards so that it will stick nicely. And then for the final bit of wiring, we are going to take these last two pieces of wire that haven't been attached to anything yet, and we are going to run them through to the bottom. And so you can either poke it through one of these holes that are around the motor clip, or you can just run it underneath. It doesn't matter. You're gonna flip your car over and you'll see the switch end, which has these three metal pieces sticking up. It doesn't necessarily matter how you do this, but there are a few important parts. So one of your wires is going to go through the either end of these three pieces sticking up, and one of the wires is going to go through the middle piece. Okay, it has to go through both pieces of metal that are sticking up, so it's a bit of a thread the needle situation. And then once again, you're just going to kind of fold it back over like that so that it is just kind of connected nicely. With the other piece, you're just going to stick it through the middle, and ensuring that the pieces aren't touching, you're going to fold it over, and as you can see, if you've done it correctly, your car will start to go. So you can use the switch to turn it on and off, and just like that, you're done and you can start racing.